may need to signal you.
Sorry.
Who?
And
You got to get that red dress in there,
I
Andy.
know.
give me a little while.
I know.
Sorry about our.
Okay, I'll be on the right computer.
Got a lot of work going on in this room. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is,
Team?
sorry, here.
My mic is down again. Can you put it between the channel 5 and sometimes just rest it on the thing?
Somebody's mic here. Okay.
Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay, dear.
Okay. Good morning. First of all, thank you everyone for coming. This obviously is a very important message and important piece of information that we received yesterday. Tammy received it and immediately went to work on this. We found out that Jason, his safety was compromised, and we did everything we could to reach out and make sure that this doesn't happen again. I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany, who obviously has some strong emotions about this, but you know, all we ask, and it's not all we ask, but I think it's time that we have to look at this and say enough is enough, and we need people to start doing their jobs. And if their jobs are to enforce and promote justice, well then those jobs need to be done. And for those that have been elected and put into jobs in which their job is to promote justice, they need to look in the mirror and determine whether or not they have the fortitude and the integrity to do these jobs. But it has to be done. Enough is enough. This man has been sentenced. He's allowed to be safe in prison. The mentality out there seems to be that people won't rest until he is either given a life sentence or killed in prison, and that's extremely unfortunate, and it's certainly not what our system is about. So I'll turn it over to Tiffany right now.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for coming today. This has not been an easy process for myself or for my family. Unfortunately, I was made aware yesterday that my husband's safety had been compromised in the institution that they currently have him housed at. My children and I have been fearful for his safety, for his life. This entire time, I have said it from day one. I continue to say it. I said it on the witness stand in the courtroom during his trial. My number one fear for my husband has always been his safety. It always has been that somebody is going to get him and hurt him. And the worst has happened. He has been taken into a federal institution for reasons unknown. I have not spoken to my husband. I have not been allowed to speak to my husband. My children have not been allowed to speak to their father. There has been no visitation. Until 2 days ago, I was unaware of where my husband was being housed. I was adamant about trying to find him. I have been trying to find him every single day. I am fearful for him every single day. I live, eat, breathe, and sleep trying to make sure my husband's safety is number one. When I received a phone call yesterday that he was harmed, there was a group of individuals that physically harmed him, that was my biggest fear. I do not know if he is safe at this moment. I do not know the extent of his injuries. Unfortunately, right now it's a big question mark for me, for everyone. He was in a state facility. I have been made aware he was in a state facility where he was safe. His safety was number one. My husband is a police officer. He is a stand-up man. He has always been a stand-up human being. This has already finished. He's had his trial. He was convicted. Everybody got what they wanted. They had my husband put away. All he wanted to do was melt to the background, do his time, and come home to his family. Unfortunately, he is not being afforded that right. He's being basically a prisoner within the prison system. He's not awarded phone calls. He's on lockdown 23 hours a day. That is not safety. For him, that is not a safe thing. They are punishing him for being who he is. If people want to say that this is, you've said it from day one, everybody said it from day one, this is a race issue. This is a gigantic race issue. They put my husband in a setting to be harmed because of the fact that he was a white man who harmed a black gentleman in the line of duty. My family fears for him every single day. My children, we don't eat, we don't sleep. My kids barely go to school. They cannot function. They are not functioning children. I plead and beg for everybody to stop and think for a moment. This is a man, this is a human being. He's afforded the rights just like everybody else. Any other normal prisoner in any institution is allowed a telephone call, is allowed to see their loved ones, visit, is allowed to speak to family and friends, social workers, therapists, guidance from preachers, priests, any of the above, they're allowed. My husband's not being afforded those rights. I am calling on the governor, I'm calling on the attorney general, I'm calling on all of the officials within the state and federal prison system to let me know. I'm demanding reasons. I'm demanding answers as to why they took my husband from a state facility and put him in a federal facility. My husband did not have federal charges. My husband does not belong in a federal facility. If they assume and they claim that it's for his safety has not been met. They have endangered him greatly. This is a national headline. This is a national story. My husband's life, my family's life, is national news. He is a police officer who was convicted for doing his job. And at the basic minimum, they were supposed to keep him safe. From everything I have found out, they put him in general population. That was not supposed to happen to my husband. That was not supposed to happen. He was supposed to be safe. And unfortunately, that has not happened. I have had this pit in the bottom of my stomach since they've taken my husband away on January 18th, that something was going to happen to him. Somebody was going to hurt him. There's still the potential that somebody's going to really harm him. I cannot and will not stand by somebody hurting my husband, hurting my family more than we've already been hurt. We are done being hurt. I'm standing up for my husband right now because he can't. He cannot stand up for himself and fight anymore. That is what I'm here for. I took that vow years ago to protect my husband, and I remain solid in keeping that vow, that I will not waver from that. My husband will come home to me. He will come home safe, and he will be with me and my girls again. 100% will be with our children again. I hope and pray for everybody out there that this gets rectified as soon as possible. I am calling for answers. They need to step up and do what's right for my husband right now.
It comes down to rights and responsibilities. Jason Van Dyke has a right to be protected in prison, and there is a responsibility on law enforcement. There's a responsibility on our leaders to make sure that he is protected. It's a tremendous feeling of hopelessness. I can only imagine what Tiffany's going through, but for us as well. And that's what makes this so difficult. And you know, it's really out of our control. And we just hope that that our leaders will come to their senses and recognize that that Jason Van Dyke has all the rights of anyone else that's in prison. You know, I don't know when it happened that police officers have become second-class citizens, but right now, all we're asking is that people just take a step back and realize this is life. This is human beings, and this is real. This isn't some political think tank. This isn't a video game. This is real life, and we're just asking that that Jason Van Dyke be allowed to serve his time. He's a tough man, and he'll go in there and serve his sentence and keep his mouth shut. And but he needs to be protected because he can't protect himself in that situation. And Tammy, I don't know if you want to talk about how you found out about this. And
Yeah, just
Tammy, can you spell your name for everybody, your full name?
Tammy Went, TammyWendt.
Are you guys okay with the mics like this? Are you taking your?
She's going to slide over just a little bit.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Just don't hit me.
I'll be loud.
Perfect, thank you.
So I just want to give you some facts as to this attack that occurred. On February 5th, Jason was transferred into federal custody. I received a call after the transfer to inform me, and this call came from Illinois Department of Corrections, Chief Operating,
No.
okay, and they informed me that he had already been taken. I inquired as to why. Was there a safety issue? And I was told there was nothing that they could tell me as to why. They said it was a joint decision. I said, did something happen? No. And they left it at that. I was then given a contact person at the federal prison who would call me and tell me as to the plan that they had for Jason's safety and where they were going to house him. This person never called me. I called him, I can't tell you how many times, and left messages. I've called the warden multiple times. She will not call me back. 2 days ago, Jason informed his appellate attorneys on a conference call about the attack. During this conference call, Jason was handcuffed, and there was a guard present in the room with him, violating his attorney-client privilege. Jason was was not able to give all the details. I was then told about this attack yesterday, and immediately began making phone calls to Illinois Department of Corrections, to the federal prison. All dead ends.
Tell them who called you and told you that.
Okay, so then yesterday I also received a call from an employee of the federal prison where Jason is housed. This was a confidential phone call, and I'm not going to reveal who this person was, but I can tell you he is an employee inside the prison. And he searched out our office because he knew we represented Jason, and he said he needed to let us know that Jason's safety was at risk. He said, I know you haven't been told about the attack, and I wanted to let you know, and I'm very concerned about his safety. He indicated to me many things that are going on there that I won't elaborate on. But most importantly is that this man came forward to advise us of this attack on Jason when nobody else would.
Tammy, can you just clarify if that's an employee from the Connecticut facility? Which facility?
Yes.
Is it Connecticut?
Yes.
And we reached out to, and we actually, we got a lot of assistance, but we reached out to the FOP president, Kevin Graham. We reached out to the past president, Dean Angelo. There was calls made to the national president for the FOP. And, people really did come together and step up and attempt to help us in this situation. We just hope that it's going to be rectified.
Dan, could you speculate why he would have been moved to a federal prison? Is there a hint that maybe he might be given federal charges at some point down the line?
I don't think that would be the reason. It is done in certain situations. It's done in some high-profile cases. Sometimes it could be for the exact opposite reason as to what happened here. It could be to promote safety, when in fact, in this case, it certainly didn't. But we don't know why. And, it's not our job to tell the prison system, IDOC, federal prison system, where to house Jason Van Dyke, but it's our responsibility to make sure that we do everything in our power to ensure the safety of this man so that he can serve a sentence, the sentence that he was given, and nothing else, nothing more.
Can you describe his injuries to the best of your knowledge?
Facial and head.
What do you mean, Tammy?
That's all I can really say.
Can you describe the scenario?
The prison is not informing me of his injuries.
Did he have to go to the prison
Yes, he
hospital?
saw a medical person, and I do know that. And I was told that by this confidential informant.
So what exactly happened and when precisely did it happen? Give us some
Immediately
words.
upon arrival, Jason was placed in general population, as if he was led like a lamb to the slaughter.
So on the 5th?
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes, on the 5th
Yes,
of
it
February.
was on the 5th.
Oh, but he wasn't attacked on the 5th.
No, he wasn't attacked till the
That's what
7th.
she's asking.
He was on the unit where he was attacked. He was on that unit not even 4 hours before the attack. Placed in general population in a prison full, and in his unit full of gangbangers, violent criminals, and even though they call this a minimum security prison, these are violent people on the last leg of their sentence. That's why they're calling it minimum security. And to put a police officer who has spent his entire career locking up bad guys in with these bad guys, it doesn't take a genius to know that that's obviously going to get him in trouble. And it's just unconscionable that this happened to him.
And we don't know, just if I can real quick, we don't know if this was done with any malice, forethought by any of the guards. We don't know if it was simply a mistake or a misunderstanding, but quite frankly, we're not too concerned about the reason for it. We just want to make sure that the end result does not occur again.
And
Was
what
it
is
in
your
a general? Was
what
it
is
in a
your
general
under-
area, or was it in his cell?
So,
In his cell.
And what is your understanding about his status now after this incident on the 7th? Did he return to general population?
No,
or
he's
was he-
segregated, 23 hours of lockdown. They call it from what I have understood, they call it the shoe, which is basically where you go to be punished. He is in 23 hours lockdown, is not afforded any time out. Even if he was, I don't think my husband would leave that location because he is fearful for his life. If they can get to him in general population, they can get to him anywhere.
and he does have a cellmate, even in the shoe.
So he's in a segregated unit with how many other
There's
inmates?
people all over. There's bars. This is like, Alcatraz with the old-time bars. But there's prisoners all over the unit.
So no longer in general population?
No, he is at this current point, as far as I know, is not in general population.
Dave, you were talking earlier about elected officials. Who exactly were you talking about and what do you hope they do?
I hope that I've spoken to a lot of elected officials in this case, throughout this case, and I've been given some assurances that that my client would be treated like the prisoner is supposed to be treated, and for whatever reason, it hasn't happened. I think everyone knows my thoughts about the way this case was brought, the way the trial was conducted, and the way the sentence is now being reviewed. These are all unprecedented acts, and our elected officials, we elect them and we expect them when we elect them to these positions, we expect them to have courage in the face of fear, to have fortitude when others are weak. And sometimes the right decision is not the easiest decision, but that's what we expect out of people. And I'm just hoping that we come back to that, because it's become a situation where law enforcement is that second-class citizen, and it seems that No matter what, if the outcry from the public is loud enough, the rights of individuals, especially law enforcement, seems to be secondary to that. And we need to get back to
Tiffany,
that.
when was the last time you spoke with Jason, and what was the conversation like?
The last time I spoke to my husband was January 18th when they sentenced him at Cook County Courthouse. When I said goodbye to him, when they sentenced him, was the last time I spoke to my husband. They took him away from me, and I was not afforded a phone call. He was not afforded a phone call. The attorneys have been able to speak to him because they have that privilege. I do relay a message to him that I'm okay, my children are okay, we're doing the best we can. I'm holding the fort down, for say. I love him very much. Unfortunately, I am not awarded the privilege, and neither is he, to speak to my husband. I don't know how safe he is. I don't know the extent of his injuries. At the end of the day, I want my husband home. I want him to be safe. I don't need people to go into his cell and attack him. The next time this could happen, they could kill him. I cannot bury my husband.
And we do know that this attack was because of this case. It was not random.
How do you know that?
He's a police officer who was convicted of doing something on duty.
Yes, but,
It was going to happen.
but was there a specific comment made?
Yes, there was. The informant told me this.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I think that's about it. I think we're set.
Could I just ask one more question? Tiffany, earlier this week, Attorney General Palmer announced that he was going to challenge the sentence. What's your reaction?
Mayor, my reaction is leave it alone. Let him serve his time and do what they've already given him. The judge was right in doing what he did. I'm okay with the sentence he got. My husband's okay. We know there's a future for my husband at the end of this. There was light at the end of the tunnel. Now the Attorney General and the Special Prosecutor want to go for more time because they're unhappy because they think the judge didn't do his job. I know for a fact the judge did his job. He did what he was supposed to do. He followed the rule of the law. And it sickens me at the fact that they want to put more time on my husband. It absolutely frustrates and sickens me.
Are you planning to go to Connecticut?
I was, but I will not be allowed to see him.
They've not let us know when she can visit or if he can have.
Never call, and he could never.
I have not received a phone call. He has never called me. I have never been able to call him.
I've been trying to arrange phone calls with them, and I'm not getting answers.
At the same time, there's a huge financial stake in my own life to be able to travel to see my husband. To take him to the East Coast is mind-boggling to me. It's frustrating, and it's very disheartening to know that my husband's on the other side of the country.
Yeah, we're just looking for assurance that his safety is going to be okay. That's really what we're looking for right now. Where he's housed is significant. It's important for the family. But right now, our biggest fear and our biggest concern is the safety of Jason. And that's what we're looking to hopefully have resolved and protected. So,
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.